Sometimes being more productive isn't about working harder or focusing more, but finding a better way to do things. We all know that goals, projects, habits, and routine are great for making progress in your life, but sometimes you gotta experiment. You need to switch things up, take a break from your routine, see what's missing, find what you can change or optimize. Self-experimentation is the most direct path to self-knowledge. I love that quote from Naval because it basically sums up the last few years of my life. The more I've experimented, the more I've learned about myself and the world. Now, don't get me wrong, most of us need to set goals, stick to daily habits, and have a routine, myself included. But sometimes there's a better way to do things, and you're not gonna find that out if you're not experimenting. Whether it's to hone your routine a little bit, find a new way of learning a skill, or just enjoy living your life a bit more, running experiments will change the way you live. So, what are life experiments? Life or self-experiments, same thing, are temporary changes in the way you do things to test new or better ways to live. They can range from mini daily experiments all the way up to life-changing experiments. Here's a few I've done in the last few years that I'll expand upon later. So back in college, I tried to be a fitness influencer. I've deleted social media for a month. I tried learning software engineering for damn near a year. I've done a bodybuilding show. I've tried many new diets. I moved to a different state for 4.5 months. I've solo traveled 3 countries. I've tried taking daily cold showers. I've tried new fitness routines, and the list goes on and on. The key here is none of these had to be permanent. I liked some of them and they stuck, so I kept doing them. Some of them I wasn't a fan of or they didn't work out, so I dropped them. And the impact of each one varies on how big or small it is, but it's still gonna change the way you live, whether that's a massive difference or a small difference. So what is the real reason we're doing these? Experiments help you explore your curiosity, find a new way of doing things, spice up life, constantly reinvent yourself, but most importantly, they give you a new way to break out of the old habits and routines that you have, take the mundaneness out of life, and you're always going to be doing something new or interesting. You're not going to be stuck in your old ways, and it just gives more energy and enjoyment to life. So the impact of each experiment can vary depending on whether it's a small daily habit like a cold shower or a massive one like moving across the country or to a new country entirely. Each category of experiments has their own reason for doing them. So we'll start with small experiments. These break you out of your normal routine, give you a new perspective, optimize some way of doing something, or just create more enjoyment in your life. So like I said, cold showers, driving a new way to work, taking dance classes, trying a new workout routine, something that's small and not gonna alter the course of your life, but can spice it up a little bit. And with these small experiments, since they're more short-term focused and don't have a massive impact, you can run 1 to 2 a month. Medium experiments. These alter a specific area of your life or skill set. It expands your comfort zone and may lead to the adoption of new habits or the development of a new valuable skill. So examples of medium experiments could be learning a new skill like software engineering was for me, trying a completely new form of exercise like running or MMA, or even just completely flip-flopping your routine so it changes the course of your day. And you only want to run 1 to 2 of these a quarter because they are starting to grow in effort and impact. So you can do one that's just general life and one that's more work-focused. You don't want to do 2 from one category because that's going to be overwhelming. If you try to do Muay Thai and running at the same time in addition to your already lifting, that's too much. I tried that, did not work. If you try learning software engineering and business at the same time, I tried that, that's too much, did not work. So 1 from each category, you can handle it much better. And lastly, large experiments. These can completely shift the way you view the world or live your life. This could be moving to a new city or new country, changing your career path, or just completely changing the way you live your life overall. And since these are so large scale, such large effort, you only want to run 1 to 2 a year. And if you're going to run 2, you want them in separate domains again. So I travel, which is the life domain, and then I am changing career paths by doing YouTube and content creation, all that. So by now you see that each one has its own impact, but they're all valuable in their own way. Sometimes you don't need a life-changing experiment, just a new way of doing things, but sometimes we do need radical change in our lives. And if you're scared to make a big change, just think of it as an experiment. It's temporary, doesn't have to be forever, but if you don't take this risk now while you're young, you probably won't get the chance when you're older. So how do you do these experiments? We're going to be real scientific about this. You don't want to change too many variables at once because 1, you'll just overwhelm yourself, but 2, you won't know what might be making the most impact. So That's why we're only changing 1 to 2 things at a time on each level. And just like the scientific process, we're going to start with an observation. So start by asking yourself some questions. What do I want to change in my life? Or what needs to change? What has been lacking in my life? What can I do better? When you start asking yourself these questions, you figure out what you might need to change or what you can do better, what you can optimize, and this just gives you some ideas for what to experiment with. After you make the observation, you need to come up with a hypothesis. So if I do this experiment, what do I think will happen? What do I hope to get out of this? Then you're going to run the experiment. The most important part is sticking to the experiment. If you half-ass it, if you give up halfway through or you're not consistent with it, you're not going to get the best data and you're not going to know if it was the right decision to make. So you want to write down any thoughts, feelings, and what difference it's making for you so that when you look back at the end of it, you can figure out what impact it had on your life and if it's worth continuing or if you should drop it. And once you have this data, you can analyze it, again, figure out if it works for you or if you need to try something else. And then if it did work, we implement it. Maybe the way you first tried it wasn't the most optimal. Maybe you got to switch your routine around a little bit, but figure out if this experiment worked and you want to continue with it, how can you fit it into your life? If you need some inspiration on what experiments to run, ask yourself some questions that I mentioned before, but think about what needs to change, what's boring, what you could do better, what most people do that you think is wrong, and if there's a better way to do it, try that. So earlier I mentioned a bunch of the experiments that I've ran, and I'll just tell you how they impacted my life to see if they're worth doing for you. Starting small, cold showers. I do these every day now in the morning. They wake me up, give me a boost of adrenaline, and get used to doing hard things. So they're part of my daily routine now. Deleting social media for 30 days. This worked great for helping me focus and has kind of rewired my brain so that my attention span isn't absolutely fucked. But I think I'm going to download social media just because not having it in 2025 kind of sucks. Talk to a lot of people on there, so can't not have it forever, but taking a break from it was great for my brain, and it might be something that I do every year. 2 other small ones that I didn't mention earlier but are part of my daily life now are reading and meditation, and these just started because I was curious about self-improvement and wanted to see what worked for me and how I could learn more about myself, better myself. So I tried them, they worked, so I stuck them in. Medium experiments. Like I mentioned earlier, I tried TikTok in college, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. I kind of didn't like the short form style, but I liked the creation aspect. So now I do YouTube. A new routine. I've played around with routines for many years, and I feel like I finally have a solid routine that works for me. But if I just stuck to my first initial 1 to 2 attempts, I wouldn't have arrived at the routine I have now, and I probably wouldn't be as productive or as happy with my routine. And large experiments. So moving to Florida didn't work out how I wanted it to because my job sucked, but I learned that I want to live on a beach eventually and that I cannot work in an office and that I wanted to travel. So that led me to my next big life experiment, which was traveling and working remotely. But wouldn't have figured that out if I didn't experiment with Florida first. And once you start living this way, you realize that life is completely in your control and you can change your life at any moment, no matter how big or small. And a word of caution is to start small, learn how to experiment first. Don't just jump right into a massive life-changing event, unless, of course, that's what you need and you're ready for it. But starting small is probably for the best. You can figure out what works, how to experiment, and then eventually jump into a bigger one. And if you feel like you need to do a big life experiment right now because you're feeling lost after graduating college, watch this video to find out why.